in your own experience.
Could you say again?
What?
So what were the factors that made the collaboration successful in that case that you were discussing with your partner?
So many factors. I can just name a few.
Yeah.
First of all, the opportunity to get to know what other people are understanding of the same definitions and concepts and topics that we are discussing. And
so
also
different viewpoints.
exactly.
And,
And to get to know other people's style in terms of how every individual reacts to the task and the instructions given by the teacher. Which one of them goal-oriented, which one of them process-oriented, and which one of them teacher-oriented, which one of them not oriented at all.
Yeah, so negotiation about the goal orientation and the shared goals and this kind of thing.
Yes, and the third factor is having the opportunity to look at the definitions and the concepts from the perspective of the other person.
Yeah.
So if you have an understanding of a concept and then other person has a different understanding, and then you get this social conflict.
Yeah.
How do you call it?
Social cognitive
Yeah,
conflict.
and then you discuss, let's say, for example, I discuss extrinsic motivation equals zero motivation because it's not you who is motivated, it's someone else who's having pressure.
Yeah.
So, but when you discuss with somebody who believes in it, you
Yeah.
start looking at it from his own or her own perspective. And you might get an understanding that, you know, you might change your perspective a little bit.
Yeah, or the other one might change their perspective, but you can also learn in the way that when you are explaining your own perspective to the other. Yeah, I did. Yeah, Hamid also.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course,
yeah,
I
thank
mean,
you.
Thank you. I've learned a lot from collaboration. I mean, the most beautiful thing is to practice to listen to others.
Yeah.
And not just to be yourself, to step back from your identity and be able to listen to others, to be able to learn from the others. Yeah, I mean,
He's a good listener in collaboration.
to me it's very beautiful.
Yeah, and that's one of the most important collaboration skills, to actually listen to another person. And that's not easy for many of us. For me, example, it's not always easy, but that's something you can always develop.
And flexibility also to be ready to change. Listen to others' ideas is not everything. Also, to be ready to enhance my understanding according to others' ideas. And also another important thing, the commitment to the task of the collaboration. That, for example, when you distribute the tasks between the group members, the commitment to fulfill the task that I am required to do. The other thing we discussed all as a group, these are not my own ideas, the feedback that I get the feedback from the group members. So it might encourage me to do a change in future or to adopt these ideas if the group members, they think that they work well. And the other thing is, my colleague is going to talk.
I think personal attitudes matter in terms of when you are ready and you want to search for opportunities to benefit from your peers' expertise and to construct a common knowledge, and to the feeling that where you can contribute and where you can bring to search what type of knowledge they might have that you don't know that can benefit the common goal. And I think also group composition in some cases can matter if you have different types of expertise. Because if you have like limited expertise and you know everything about that, then it doesn't bring much collaboration. It's just a competition or something. You need to compose a group in such a way that the people feel that I can benefit from my peers. And the rest, I think, with Hamid and sorry, I cannot remember your name.
Very, very good points, and I'm sure there were good points in all the discussions. But we will go further, and we will have more time to discuss later also. But just to mention a few things, you already mentioned many good things, but to list some aspects that why and how does collaboration support learning. Well, first of all, the opportunity to externalize your thinking and by that develop them further. I think we all have experiences that you read something, for example, and you think, yeah, I understand this. But someone else asks that, what was the main point of that article? And then you have to check. And then when you have to really explain it to someone, you actually might have an insight that, yeah, this is actually the point. Like, if you are just studying by yourself, you don't necessarily have to think about it and make it like a, when you explain it in your own words, if you can explain it in your own words, you know that you have understood it. And this is something that can also be done by writing. When you write something down, for example, your blog post or your master's thesis or some kind of assignment, you can learn by writing, because you have to actually process that information. So collaboration always provides an opportunity to externalize your thinking. And then, of course, you might think that my way of thinking is the only way of thinking about this thing, but when you collaborate with someone, you realize that no, there are many different viewpoints, so you become aware of your own thoughts, that realizing that there are different viewpoints and things can be seen differently. And of course, the motivation to explain your thoughts when they are not clear enough for the others to understand. You might think that this is clear, this is how I see it, and then I explain it and you look at me like, what? And then I have to do a better job explaining, and then I learn. And of course, when we are discussing about things, for example, when you now are discussing about your experiences, when there are more people involved, you have to take the discussion to more abstract level to find a common ground for the joint discussion and problem solving, because you can't just say that it's like that, like my brother there last week, you know, because the people don't know. So you actually have to bring it to that level that everyone understands what you are explaining, and you have to discuss it in more abstract level. And of course, there are different kind of expertise within the group usually. And as Kajan said, that if it would be like ideal situation, the people would have different kinds of expertise. Of course, some similarities to understand each other, but still the expertise would be like, in some points overlapping, some points different. So everyone like could bring their own expertise and work in the zone of proximal development for the others, in a way. That they can understand the things you know. They are not too far away from their understanding, but they are not similar things. So these are few things that why we make you, for example, collaborate that much. But of course, there are challenges in collaborative learning. And I think this is something we could discuss as a bigger group. But I know you all have experiences of unsuccessful collaborative learning. I'm sure of it. But could you share your ideas of what went wrong? And is there something that you could have done differently? The other students, the group, or the teacher could have done differently? The teacher, always the teacher. It's good to always blame the teacher. Yeah, but of course.
I've been a teacher for 7 years, so I know how.
Teacher doesn't.
What kind of experience do you have? Because of course, teacher has a major role in the success of collaborative learning.
The design of the instructions and the activities adds a lot to it, because sometimes you might assume that the group will create a goal themselves and work towards it, but then students disappoint you by not setting a goal and they start talking about something relevant or non-relevant.
Yeah.
And then after 10 minutes or 15 minutes of discussion, you come and ask them what is the conclusion, and they look at you, what?
Yeah, they have to talk about what they have done last weekend or
Instructions,
something.
let's say you can add some pressure on them by adding, let's say at the end of the instruction, after that you're going to film the conclusion of your discussion, and you have 2 minutes, let's say, and one person will have to tell this, the other people will support him. So that adds pressure for them to, let's say, be goal-oriented for a moment or for one task.
So you have to have like certain tasks and structure for the work.
You have to use pressure allotment in
Yeah.
collaborative learning design.
Yeah, and not just the minimal guidance. You have read about the minimal guidance and how it doesn't work. You just can't put students to now work together and expect them to have something great.
Sometimes you have in the group dynamics one student who's really, really smart who dominates and control the whole discussion and interaction. So as a teacher you have to design it because you assign that, let's say, very super active, clever student to somebody who's shy and, let's say, introvert or not interacting, and then make that, utilize that super interactivity of that student to support the one who's shy and to take him aside and say, listen, this guy is very shy. I want you to help and make him get out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
And you have to do that by being less active
Yeah.
and give him more chances.
Yeah.
So you can use them against each other and manipulate and play with them.
That is the challenge, that the superactive
There are a lot of
students will dominate the group and the shy person will be more shy.
No,
And
when you assign this, when you design it in a way that make the superactive person conscious of their superactivity and conscious of the fact that their superactivity might influence the shy people become more shy, then they will have this in itself. Consciousness is a huge pressure on them. And then when you assign them a more optimal goal of being, let's say, helping other people, then they work on themselves and self-regulate their learning and help other people get out of their comfort zone. I've done that a lot. So
But
I
it
know
means
how
that
to
the
do it.
person will have to know how to do it as well.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
just
that
the
requires
goal.
skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course it has to do
They
with, for
always
example,
look back at you as a teacher and look, hey, am I doing good or not?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
but,
okay?
and it's
But I
also
think that there should be some extrinsic motivation for the student that, okay, your grade will depend on.
yeah, the assessment is one thing
the
that
shy
really
person.
affects
You can use
this,
it also as a pressure, it's fine.
that actually you're not competing,
Yes.
but the grading and the assessment will that way that actually everyone benefits for the whole team to learn.
Sometimes I had to take a very, very talkative student and make him the group leader and give him the hint that the group leader is the least talkative guy in the group.
Yeah.
And that worked like magic.
Yeah, yeah. And this kind of role division is something that you
They
can
were happy to
do.
be a leader, but they were conscious that they have to be less talkative.
A very frequent problem, well, during the collaborative working is when one person tends to be the, how to say, the authority and the main person of the group.
like the teacher or the leader.
Yes,
that-
and that person doesn't realize that being like the authority, it puts limits to that person in case and to other people
Yeah.
around, because it's really difficult for others to not to compete, because during this work is not the competition. It is a collaboration. It is a change of ideas, exchange of experiences, and so on. But it's really difficult to tell that person you are doing wrong, because you have no time to regulate that during work, and it can damage even more the
the
working
group dynamics and-
atmosphere.
Yeah, that's true.
And sometimes it's even the person who is the authority requires more attention, and that's also it's quite difficult.
Yeah, so it's not equally shared.
Yeah.
Like
It's not a discussion, it's a monologue.
Yeah, that's something that actually needs to be, if the collaboration, if we want it to be successful, that you are equals in a way, that everyone has their opportunity to share their ideas, and everyone is equal in that way.
I think people with some people with destructive attitude or personality cannot work in a team, because then they can distress other members of the group.
Yeah.
And I think some real genius do not work in the team because they feel that they are genuinely superior to other people.
Yeah.
But for some people, they think that they are superior to other people, and they don't listen to other people. And that's why the collaborative learning cannot go to anywhere.
It requires some kind of symmetry between the group members, but also it requires collaborative learning skills. But actually, to listen to others, to give the room for other opinions, and to divide the tasks and have the roles in a way that everyone gets to actually collaborate. But maybe we now have to go further. You mentioned the challenges. The main thing maybe that came out is that one person maybe taking a dominant role, but also there are quite opposite challenges like social loafing, free rider effect, and sucker effect. I don't know if you know about this, but the social loafing means that someone on purpose just benefits the work that everyone else does. And the bigger the group, the easier this is. I'm not doing anything, they're doing it for me. I get the credit that they do, I get the credits from the course, I'm not doing anything. This is social loafing. And free rider effect is quite similar thing, but it's different in a way that you don't necessarily just want to benefit from others, but you are just seeing that they are doing all the things there. I'm not really needed. I don't have to do anything. There's no motivation for me to do anything because there are these 3 active group members that are doing everything. So it's more about motivation, this free rider effect, and not just intentionally benefiting from others, but just that I'm not needed, so why should I do anything? And this is something that can happen in collaboration. And of course it depends on the students, but if the students are not motivated to learn, then this frequently happens. And when you're working online, it's even easier. You don't have to see face to face the other team members, so it's easy just to fade away, like they are doing the work. And then the sucker effect means that no one wants to be the sucker who does all the work. So if someone is being active and sees that there are some free riders in the group, they lower their own like doing and so on to like that I'm not doing all the work if the others are doing it. So that they are maybe starting with active start and doing actively these learning assignments and so on, but then they realize that there are so many free riders that why should I do everything, and just their motivation is also lowering at that point. And when we talk about, well, the CSCL, this goes to the collaborative learning with computer support. But it's mentioned that there are two pitfalls in computer supported collaborative learning, but also in collaborative learning in general, in face-to-face situations also, I think. The first one is that the teacher takes social interaction for granted. Just that my students know how to speak and I put them sitting together there, so now they will interact and learn. Well, it won't happen. And this is something that maybe when you have this cool new learning environment online and everything is technically working fine and there's so much opportunities for collaboration and shared knowledge and so on, that the teachers just think that now I can put them and they will collaborate and learn. But no, the interaction does not happen always like that. And if there's interaction, it's not necessarily the interaction you want them to have in order to learn. That they can interact there, but it's not really leading to anything important. For example, we are now using Facebook in one of our courses, and I think all of our students know how to interact in Facebook, and if we put them in the same group there, I think there will be some kind of interaction there, but it's not necessarily the interaction we need for them to learn. And then the other pitfall is restricting social interaction to cognitive processes, to think only about the cognitive side and not to take into consideration that actually there has to be trust. There actually have to be this like sense of warmth and belonging in order to actually have the courage to tell your opinions and so on. So the team has to be like actually somehow interconnected in emotional level also. So it's not just about, we are not machines, we are humans. And of course, challenges, lack of skills for communication and collaboration. So if someone has difficulties, for example here, when we are studying in English. If your English skills are not that good that you could actually say what you think, then it's a problem. Or if you are not like able to listen to others, or you're not able to tell that clearly how you feel, or so on. So these are skills that can be also studied. And then, of course, one challenge, not a problem as such, but challenge that needs to be worked with is usually the studying culture. Because I know that many of you come from schools and universities where you are used to doing things individually and competing with other students. So it doesn't just happen like that, but no, you are collaborating and we are all working for the same goal and not against each other, but with each other. So this is something, but this is also something you grow into in a way. I know that when you have studied here for 2 years in LED Master's program, for example, your collaboration skills and you're thinking about collaboration and about your team, and it will change. You are not the same as you were when you came here in terms of collaboration and in terms of interaction. And of course there can be some technological or other practical problems that can really harm the collaboration. If the technology isn't working, then you're not motivated to work and you can't actually fluently collaborate with others. And time management and planning is something that can be a problem. For example, if you have some bigger projects that you have to do with the team, and if there's problems with the whole team's time management or some group members' time management, or the group isn't able to create joint plans of how we work. And of course there can be conflicts in personal level and motivational problems, and they can affect, if someone is not motivated at all in the team, it can affect the whole atmosphere in the team, and so on. And the Tuckman's team development model, I think this is familiar to many of you, and you have heard in the intro course in Paul's lecture. He mentioned this. It's not really from educational sciences, but this is also something good to be aware of, that how Tuckman sees that how team develops. The first there's the phase of forming, when the group comes together and they actually get to know each other, and in this point the leader is really needed. Leader within the team, or teacher, or someone who tells the group that how we are going to work and what is going to happen. And then there's always, in some extent, the storming phase, when you are actually having disagreements and negotiating that how the team is going to work, and in this phase you're also getting to know each other more. And you have to have a little bit of storm before you can set the joint goals and joint strategies, and to actually have this. At this point you are actually becoming a team that has a certain way of working. And when you have created your norms for your team, you can perform. And that's the phase where you actually do the thing you're supposed to do. And then the ending phase, joining, that just means that usually teams are put up for some assignment, some course, some degree program, some working project, or so on. And usually there is an end to the teamwork. And there has to be or usually there's some kind of conclusion, and people go to their separate ways. How much time? Okay. So then, some prerequisites for successful collaborative learning. Well, this was mentioned before. Equality and symmetry. So the members of the group have to be equal in a way that they can all express their thinking. And in symmetry, in a way that there isn't one expert and the other one are novices, or there isn't one teacher in the team in a way, or So they have to be some kind of, or it isn't collaboration if I'm, for example, doing something together with my 2-year-old daughter. It's not collaboration, we are not equal and symmetric in a way. But of course there are things that she knows better than me at this point for some type of programs or something. She has some information that I don't have, but yeah. In order to work collaboratively and learn collaboratively, there has to be symmetry in that sense. And individual accountability, this means that every individual feels and knows that I have to do my own individual part for the team to succeed. So everyone has an important individual role within the team. And grounding is a word that means something that happens. It's in a way in this team development model when you have the storming and norming, that you actually have the discussions that you know that you are discussing about the same things and understanding the tasks the same way and so on. So this is something you would do in problem-based learning step 1, for example, to create a common ground. And then commitment. So everyone has to be committed to the joint task. And this positive interdependence, that everyone is dependent on each other and the team is dependent on every member in a way that we know that we need everyone's effort to create a good outcome and good learning. And this promoted interaction, so really the interaction has to be so that there are goal sets and that people are actually working towards the goal in a way. And this, the broadly overlapping areas of expertise, so that everyone knows some common things, some basics. But then everyone knows different things also. And of course there are individual skills that you need to have, interpersonal and small group skills. And the atmosphere has to be so that the misconceptions and disagreements are allowed. If the atmosphere is such that someone is afraid to tell what they are thinking because they are afraid that they are wrong, and if it's not allowed to be wrong, then it's hard to open your mouth in that kind of situations. So the atmosphere has to be good, and there has to be trust in a way that I can speak my mind and I don't have to worry if they think I'm stupid because I say such things. But I have to trust that I can speak my mind and then we can discuss. If I'm wrong, then they will help me to understand this thing better. And also the disagreements, not in a way that you will fight like in personal level, but you can have this cognitive conflict, social cognitive conflict with each other. It's allowed for me to think differently than you do. So this has to be allowed. And then one thing is that what kind of tasks and questions you give to students. If you have factual questions that you have only one right answer, then it's hard to collaborate because someone can already know the answer and that's it. Or someone can Google the answer. But there has to be this openness and complex problems in a way that there's room for negotiation and different viewpoints. So we could also discuss about this together as a whole team. So do you think it's important for you to understand about collaborative learning? I hope you do, so you don't think that it's unnecessary for you to be here. But what do you think, what's the benefit for you as a student or as a teacher or other educational expert? That why do you need this information? Why do you need to understand what is collaborative learning?
Because they are the conditions for collaborative learning to happen.
Yeah.
If we are such a close-minded person, then we know that there are some conditions for collaborative learning, then we should change ourselves to improve the learning collaborative learning experience.
Yeah, that's true. Because if you maybe there's some points in this lecture that you haven't really thought about before. And now you can reflect your own actions that, yeah, if we want to successfully collaborate, we have to have these conditions, so you can actually make them happen as a student. And of course, as a teacher, we have discussed about the challenges, but about the conditions that need to be there. So it is challenging, and there are a million things to take into consideration, but it's easier if you understand these conditions, at least at some extent. Any other ideas?
Because it's so easy to cooperate and not collaborate.
Yeah.
And so if you really understand the difference and know why you shouldn't just cooperate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it's good to understand that now we are doing this way because now we want to just get it done. And in other point we are doing it this collaborative way. It takes more of our effort, but this is something that actually helps us to learn. So you can make the decision, but you have argumentation behind it, that you're not just doing it like.
I think it's also about like when it's collaborative learning, the situation is not only for developing your cognitive skills. It's also to develop as a learner, and that's why it's very important to understand the basic mechanisms of this, because then you can develop your social interaction skills.
Yeah, that's true. And there are skills that are also needed in working life, and you have to have the skills to collaboratively learn and to collaborate.
Yes.
So you're learning the content, but you are also learning in the collaboration about the collaboration.
Yes, because that's what I think researchers think that is like what to me is like lifetime learning skills. You know this stuff.
Yeah, and in order for you to practice something, you need to master that thing first. Like for example, if you want, let's say we illustrate collaborative learning as cooking. Like how you are going to teach people to cook if you don't even able to cook.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not only talking about learning or academic things. By collaborative learning, we can develop students' social skills as well, and that's needed because since we are human beings, we need to interact with each other. So it's good for their future as well to prepare them for the real world.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, I would like to add something to Adelina's point that good preparation is very good for successful collaboration. For example, not necessarily just to share others my own ideas. It's good to refer to other resources and to support my own point of view and my own perspectives.
Yeah, and that's in a way that you need to be active in the collaborative situation, but also the cooperative part where you do the individual preparation for the collaborative situation is something that you can also like focus on. But then briefly about how we can support collaborative learning. This is something you will discuss more in a week when you talk about computer-supported collaborative learning. But one important key concept that I want you to know, because collaboration in learning situation doesn't often occur spontaneously. So there's a need for instructional support. So you can't just put students to collaborate as such. So scaffolding is a term that one team already have defined in Optima last week. But this is a term that has to do with zone of proximal development. So scaffolds mean that the actual help that the technology or the teacher is giving to the students to actually develop to the level they can develop. So there are like support in this zone of proximal development.
I have a question. Does it always connected to the technology-supported learning? Or?
Well, this concept is something that's created in the field of computer-supported collaborative learning. said, which usually it has to do with computer-supported environments. But in a way, of course, you can scaffold learning in face-to-face learning situations also. But it doesn't mean like direct teaching, but it means these little like interventions in group activities where you help the students to take the next step, in a sense. And the scaffolds can provide support in content-related or conceptual level, but also to the interactive processes. So actually you can help the students to argument their point of view or to start discussions and so on. And just a few words about technology as such. Well, of course, you can support collaboration with different kind of technological tools, because you can use your phone and talk with someone and collaborate in that phone discussion, or you can sit next to your other student and you can do together something with the computer or iPad or something. So there are tools for different collaborative activities. For example, collaborative mind mapping tool that you used yesterday. Or there are tools that are not designed for collaboration, but you can use them collaboratively. Because they are just, nowadays technology is something that you can use for almost anything, and you can use them for support collaboration or not. But when we talk about computer-supported collaborative learning, that's its own research and research field. And the main ideas behind that is that technology can support collaborative problem solving in a way that it can make thinking visible. So when you are having discussion online, it can take the whole collaboration process visible. If you are discussing as a team here, you can go back later and see what the other person said, and it helps to understand, to make your own thinking and make the group's thinking visible. And then, of course, the cognitive load can be shared with technology as well as with other people. I'm constantly sharing my cognitive load with pens and papers, for example. I don't trust my own memory, I write things down. I'm sharing cognitive load with pen and paper. But of course you all know that you have reminders in your cell phones, or you have different kind of, you have calculators and things where actually you don't have to do everything by yourself. You are helping to ease the load, the cognitive load, and the technology helps you with that. And of course you're in social interaction, the other people help you with that also. But of course, if you use technology has to provide a support for fluent interaction. So nowadays it can be almost as fluent as face-to-face real-time collaboration. But earlier, for example, when I studied educational technology, everything was slow and the internet connections were slow, and the environment was so that it didn't really feel like natural collaboration, because, yeah, you know. But nowadays we can have technologies that they help the interaction, and you don't even notice the technology because it works so fluently. And that's the ideal case. And diversity and flexibility, because different learners have different needs. They, for example, want to see the information in different forms, and they want to do their study assignments when they are at the beach, for example, or at the plane, or like there has to be flexibility, these mobile devices and so on. You don't have to be in the computer classroom to do those things, for example. And of course the usability and the reliability of the technology, that you don't have to worry about that the system will fall and all the information will disappear there and so on. And of course you can support collaborative learning with pedagogical methods and decisions without even think about the technology. So instructional strategies and methods, you can think that, is this content something that I need to lecture about, or is this something that you should discuss about or write about, or so on. And then you can use pedagogical models like Jigsaw, for example, for problem-based learning. that they have these different steps and structures and ways of working, so you can apply the model to different learning situations. And then the collaboration script is a word that's used in the field of computer-supported collaborative learning. And it means like the structure of the work that happens throughout the course, for example. So based on the learning objectives that you have, you then define what are the type of activities that the students will do, how it will be sequenced or timed, what kind of roles the students would take, and what is the type of representation that is it writing or is there pictures or videos or something like that. The script is like in the movie there's a script that what is going to happen and in what stage. And this is something that's really, really important when you are doing computer-supported collaborative learning. That there's a script that the students know what to do and the teacher knows what the students are going to do, so that the learning process will go on as planned. And for example, now I mentioned the course that we are having in Facebook. It's the second year led course at the moment going on, where we have these 3 topics, and each of these topics are discussed for 2 weeks, and the students are divided into small groups. And in this script, there are these roles that are assigned for each team member. One is a contributor, one is a composer, one is a critic, and one is a captain of the team. So everyone is giving their viewpoint, and then everyone is given also these sentence openers to help their argumentation, and so on. So there are many things scripted inside that course. And so it really has to be scripted in a way that, for example, Facebook, it's easy to use technology, but we can just put the students there and discuss, and this is the topic. So we have to think about the sequences. Okay. Well, we could use a few minutes. Just the first ideas that come to your mind. You have now studied with 2 kind of pedagogical models in our studies. The jigsaw and the problem-based learning. Of course, problem-based learning is something you just now have gone through only once, so it's not that familiar for you. But is there something that comes to your mind that why is jigsaw good or bad? Or why is problem-based learning good or bad? In a sense of collaborative learning, what you have learned now. If you were asked to evaluate them from perspective of collaborative learning. Well, this comes with your partner a few minutes and
Also,